I had a lot of moments with Christ, so like I did feel free with him in a lot of different moments. I think where I started to feel suffocated is it was in my journey. I had already been starting to feel these moments inside of me when I was on my college campus. I'd be walking to class. We had these brick cobblestone pathways. I remember these moments super clearly. And I would walk to class and I would have these moments of feeling like super simply God was just taking my heart and pulling it up towards him. And I knew that meant leave your father and mother and your home and cleave to God. Like there was just very strong moments of I was starting to become clear. He was calling me, and with a strength that was starting to actually, it was speaking to me, and it was starting to scare me, not in like being afraid, but it's kind of like that moment when you're like on the edge of the cliff. And the more you're realizing, like, I'm actually going to jump off this cliff, there's just a surge of adrenaline, and it felt like fear, but it was actually more like champagne bubble fear, that it was a strength that was getting me ready to jump. Either way, there was that experience, and then there was moments of suffocation of like, I can't, and I realized that wasn't God's voice. Like, looking back, I can see that were two different things, right? But I was in the chapel in the middle of the night at the University of Idaho. I couldn't, like, I remember just kneeling there. It was totally dark. There was like these gold mosaic things behind the tabernacle that had the way that they glinted the light. It was the only thing I could see. Yeah. So I could see him in the tabernacle with the light that was glinting off the back. And I only did this once in my whole discernment, right? Because I think the way I was built and the way I was raised, like farmer's daughter, if I knew God was asking me something, I knew I was going to say yes, right? And for the most part, that was a pretty peaceful process. But when it started to hit rubber to road, and I started to hear voices that were also kind of pressuring me, right, to do something now. And internally, I think also the expectations I was placing on myself, I just started to feel like suffocated, like I couldn't breathe. And when I was there, I remember looking at him in the tabernacle and just saying, honestly, if there's anybody else that you can ask, please ask them. Like, don't make me do this. That was the exact phrase. I'll never forget that. Like, don't make me. Yeah. And I think because I was in this moment of such a deep, like, not being able to breathe because of the demands that I knew that this life would be, I didn't think I was good enough, and I didn't think I could. I remember him just looking at me, and in the midst of that, like, pressure and anxiety that was building up inside of me, and just looking at me and saying, like, I won't ask you if you don't want it. Like, I won't ask you, Jackie. Tell me what you want. Yeah. If you want a little cottage by your house, and if you want a husband, I will give that. I will give you all of that. Yeah. And I think the experience when he said that, what happened inside of me was my whole world went calm and peaceful. And I think when I started to look at him and I saw who he was becoming for me, it was this rich experience of falling in love with the man he was, even as he was letting me go. Yeah, because I think because of the experiences of the 6 months before that, I couldn't deny that he was in love with me. Like, I could see that. Any woman that had a pair of eyes could see that, right? So I couldn't deny that I knew he wanted me for that. Like, I knew that he wanted my heart for him, and the purity of his eyes and his gaze that said, I'll let you go. Like, I won't make you. And I think that, like, it was this freedom inside of me that went from, I have to do God's will, to God in this man in himself, being able to look at me and release me from the slavery and look at me as a woman he's in love with, and that love to let me go. After that, like I think that was the moment where I just realized, like, I cannot let my heart belong to anybody but him, because nobody loves me like that. And I think the woman in me realized, even at that young age, it's a puzzle piece. Like, those two hearts, we belong together. So I think that he just restored this freedom and this spontaneity of being able to chase after him and search for him, and gave me enough courage to at least make the next step to buy a plane ticket. You know? So yeah, that's the moment I feel like he set me free.